Hello everyone, welcome to Little Lovers channel. Today we are going to discuss another famous play of Shakespeare, that is As You Like It. It's a pastoral comedy by Shakespeare, believed to have been written in 1599 and first published in the first folio in year 1623. The play's first performance is uncertain, though a performance at Wilton House in 1603 has been suggested as a possibility. As a like it summary, it's a Rosalind and her cousin escape into the forest and find Orlando. Rosalind loves him. She disguised as a boy shepherd. Rosalind has Orlando's or under the guise of curing him of his love for Rosalind. Rosalind reveals she is a girl and marries Orlando during a group wedding at the end of the play. So this is a brief summary of the play. Themes of the play. The play As You Like It is considered to be one of the Shakespeare's finest comedy. It got something for everyone: villainy, romance, humor, and a happy ending. The setting in France, uh, and Oliver and Orlando. So these two are brothers who inherit their father's estate after he passes. However, the greedy and cruel Oliver neglects Orlando's schooling and gentlemanly upbringing, keeping the best of the estate for himself. So it's the beginning of the story. So you must know that Orlando character before going exact to the novel. Characters of the novels are main character is Rosalind, who is a Duke Senior's daughter, and her uncle banishes her because her uncle, who has taken her father's kingdom, and she ran away when she got banished with her cousin Celia, disguised as a boy called Ganymede. Rosalind's another name in the play, Ganymede. Celia is the daughter of Duke Frederick. She is really close with her cousin Rosalind and supports her when she is banished. Orlando, hero of the story, youngest son of Sir Roland de Boys. He falls in love with Rosalind as soon as he sees her, but he is forced to run away to escape from his brother. Next is Oliver, who is a criminal one. He treats Orlando badly and tries to have him exiled. Jacques is a lord who lives with the Duke Senior while he is in exile and camps with him in the forest of Arden. He is known to be melancholy and dramatic. Phoebe is a shepherdess. She rejects Sylvius, who is madly in love with her, and claims to love Ganymede instead of that Sylvius. Duke Senior is Rosalind's father. He has just been overthrown by his brother Duke Frederick and is living in the forest of Arden with his followers. Duke Frederick, banishes his brother Duke Senior in order to take over as a duke. He is Celia's father. So Touchstone is a court fool, Corian, whole shepherd and friend to Silvius. He helps Rosalind and Celia to find shelter in the forest of Arden. So Silvius, a young shepherd who is in love with Phoebe, she does not feel the same about him. Audrey is from the forest Arden, who agrees to marry Touchstone. So these are the few characteristics. You like it. Next is, let's go now. Oliver is thrown this Orland out. So Charles the Duke's Wetzlar, Oliver receives Charles the Duke of Wetzlar, who informs him that new Duke, that is Frederick, banished his old brother, that is the Duke Senior, that's Rosalind's father. The banished Duke's daughter has remained in the court with Celia. So Rosalind is in Frederick court, and that the old duke has retreated to the forest of Arden. It's a Rosalind's father. The wrestler also tells Oliver that he is scheduled for a match with Orlando the next day. He advises Oliver to stop Orlando from fighting in order to protect life. But Oliver decidefully tells Charles that he has already tried to dissuade Orlando and that Orlando is in any case a villainous contriver, leaving Charles determined to win the match the following day. Oliver remains alone and articulates in a passionate soliloquy his irrational hatredness for his cousin brother. Celia tries to console Rosalind about the banishment of her father and to convince her to think that her father is the father of Rosalind. And at the same time, that Stone interpret that is Hazer Court Fool, Monsieur Lebio enters and informs Celia, Rosalind, and Touchstone that there will soon be a wrestling match between a young man and an undefeated wrestler who has recently won matches against a set of three brothers. Rosalind and Celia beg the young opponent Orlando to withdraw from the fighting, but to no avail, Orlando wins the match. It's very astonishment for all spectators. Celia and Rosalind are discussing about Rosalind's newfound adoration for Orlando when Duke Frederick interrupts and orders Rosalind to leave the court at threat of death. Upon Frederick's exit, Celia promises that she will leave with Rosalind. They plot to go with Touchstone, who is a fool, and in disguise Rosalind as a Ganymede and there's Celia as a girl, the shepherdess girl. So meanwhile in the forest, Duke Senior is optimistically relishing his natural surrounding and planning to hunt some venison. Back to the court, Duke Frederick discovered that Celia has gone missing with Rosalind and orders that to retrieve Oliver, who might know where Orlando is. At Orlando's own residence, Adam warns Orlando that Oliver is inside and intends to burn down the house. He convinces Orlando to seek exile and offers him his own money and company. Thus, I am remembering the Mahabharata where Kauravas burnt the Pandavas' home. So, on their way into a forest, Rosalind, Celia, and Touchstone met Silvius and Corinne. Silvius was in love with, I'll tell you later. There's a young man, Corinne, a young man, and an old man engaged. Silvia is a young man, Corinne is an old man. They both engaged in dispute about love. When Rosalind and Celia discover that Corinne has no food to give them, they decided on a whim to buy the cottage, pasture, and a flock that he mentions are for sale. Jacques returns after a long absence to Duke Senior and describes a fool he met in the forest. Orlando rudely interrupts their conversation and requiring food and thinking that he must act savagely in the savage forest, demands that they give it to him, has met with warm invitations by Duke Senior to join their meal. Briefly depart to retrieve Adam, who is weak and hungry, so that he too may join. That is another part. This is next scene is at court. Duke Frederick orders Oliver to bring Orlando to court within the year. The forest Orlando, because Frederick knows that Rosalind is in love with Orlando. Orlando begins posting love poems to Rosalind on trees. Privately, Celia reveals to Rosalind that she knows Orlando to be infatuated poet. Soon after, Orlando enters and Rosalind, who is in a disguise as a Ganymede, mentions 3 poems to him. When he admits to being their author, she offers to cure him of his love. She will pretend to be Rosalind and act as a despicable version of her. Touchstone and Audrey Touchstone's fiancé, or conversing about Audrey's non-poetical nature when Sir Oliver Mortac's text arrives to perform their wedding service. At Jock's suggestion, however, Touchstone decided to have a proper marriage in a church. Corin invites Rosalind and Celia to come witness an exchange between Silvius and his lover Phoebe, in which Silvius pleads with Phoebe not to scorn him and calls her cold. When Rosalind, dressed as a Ganymede, intervenes and attacks Phoebe with a slew of insults. Phoebe falls immediately in love with him. But later, Ganymede took, that is, Rosalind took a promise from her uh, that at the end, if he is not returned, she needs to marry Silvius. Orlando comes late to meet Rosalind, that is Ganymede now, and she scolds him for the late. After Rosalind gives Orlando a lesson in love, he departs. Soon after, Silvius arrives with a love letter that Phoebe has written for Ganymede. Olivus enters shortly after and gives Rosalind a bloody napkin sent to her from Orlando, who recently fought off a lioness in order to save Oliver's life. Rosalind faints because she thinks that Orlando might get hurt more. However, reveals to the Orlando, who is in disguise, that he is fell in love with Celia at first sight. Rosalind enters and tells Orlando that she is skilled in art of magic and can promise him that if he truly loves Rosalind, he will be married to her the next day. She articulates all of the unions that will happen the next day. Orlando, Silvius, and herself will all be married. Orlando will marry Rosalind. Ganymede will marry Phoebe. Next day, Duke Senior and his men gather to witness the wedding between Audrey and Touchstone. Oliver and Elian, Rosalind and Orlando, and Ganymede or Silvius and Phoebe. Rosalando and Celia appear as themselves at the ceremony with the Haman, the marriage god. Happy endings. At the end of the story, Phoebe immediately rejects Ganymede, realizing that he was a woman, and agrees to marry Silvius. Oliver happily marries Celia, and Orlando marries Rosalind. Jock's D. Boys brings news that Duke Frederick left the court to fight his brother in the forest, but instead found a religious man who encouraged him to give up the court and live a life of religious contemplation. He hands the court back over the Duke Senior, that is Rosalind's father. Jocks goes to join him to learn more about religion, and group celebrates the news and the marriages by dancing and singing. This is a beautiful play. Thank you. Please do subscribe to the channel.